Alright, good morning everybody. Today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2014, and this is Before the First Cup with Jules on UCY.TV. You like that? Good morning. How's everybody doing? It is Wednesday and it is warm, but, oh damn, I left my phone downstairs, so I don't know how hot it is. It was in the 80s yesterday here, and sunny and warm for the morning. I think it ended up getting kind of overcast, but no storms like I thought. But yeah, it's really been great. We went from deep freeze to maybe 2 weeks of spring, lots of rain, and now I guess it's summer. That's just kind of how it happens. So now we got about 2 months of summer coming, and you watch. All of a sudden, the switch will flip and bink, it'll be fall here. And we will go back to 9 months of darkness and cold. Oh, I really hate darkness and cold, but. So, I've been gone for a couple days. It was quite relaxing, getting out and riding my ATV finally for the first time in the last 2 years. I have to say though, you know you're getting old when, I don't know, we probably rode for we did a couple excursions, so it was probably a good 3 or 4 hours. We were out for most of the afternoon, just buzzing the hills, and, you sure know you're getting old when the next day you're going, man, my sciatic nerve is killing me. So I've been gimping around here for the last 2 days. But wow, was it great. And hey, my friend that I go riding with down there told me that, despite the fact that this winter up here was one of the coldest that we've had honestly, JJ's even said it too, since the 70s. It used to get really cold here in the 70s, but, we haven't had winters like that until, this past year. But you would think that it would kill most of the, the nasties, like, any of the ticks, and apparently it didn't. This is supposed to be a very, very bad year for ticks. So, just a heads up for everybody. We had to do, check all your nooks and crannies when you come out of the woods. Check all the folds in your arms and your legs and your armpits. But everybody pay attention to that this summer. Because here's the thing, we've talked about Lyme's disease before. You don't want to get that. I saw firsthand from my mother what happens if you get infected with that. So definitely check yourself. Look online. There's lots of good articles on how to properly extract a tick. You got to get all the parts out. Otherwise, you will continue to be poisoned. And there are some simple remedies that you can do to make the tick take itself out, like cover it with oil, like even baby oil. It suffocates them, so then they pull out. My friend was telling me about a credit card, but I don't know. I guess once it's attached, she said you could take the credit card and the way you'd like dig it and then flick it across, it rips it out. You just want to be careful of that because you don't want the sucker to get stuck inside there. But anyway, so yes, we did the pat down afterward. We made sure that nobody had any ticks. And it was fun. It was fun. But now I'm in recovery mode. And that's the hard part. The long drive back, the pack, everything. And then we get here and we were both just so wiped out. And then the next day was school. Yesterday, honestly guys, I crashed. I didn't wake up until 11 o'clock. It's hard for me. I'm up first thing and on 2 hours sleep. So for me to get like an entire night's sleep and then wake up at 11 is just unheard of. But then, last night again, I took a nap around 8, got up, stayed up for a little while, then crashed out at probably about 11:45. And, I'm just getting up now. I'm still wiped out. So I think it's just a little too much fresh air and sunshine. And we got 4 new shows coming up here, or maybe 3 new, 1 coming back on air, in the next week. So That's what I'm in the middle of right now. That's a huge amount of work just to bring one show online, let alone 4. And there's 9 shows to get cut for the weekend. So yeah, I'm a little bit busy. Honestly, I've been trying to keep up with the news. I have been sharing videos, so at least I've been paying attention to some stuff, but I've just been take a day and a half off and it means now you have to suffer for 3 weeks, right? And that's exactly how it goes. So we'll look at some stuff, but I don't know. I might just make this a shoot the shit show. No, there was some stuff I wanted to see, so hold on. Let me share my cup today that says, I listen to the voices in my coffee. And I do. They tell me, go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. I saw this morning the CEO now makes 257 times the average worker salary. So how do you like them apples? I think it's time to become a CEO. Hey, am I CEO of UCY? Hey, wait, the CEO of UCY makes about the same as all the employees. Ha! Nothing. It's kind of funny. I don't know. Money is corruption. Anybody who thinks that if you have money out there, you're gonna be happy, well, let me give you a little lesson on life. No, you're not. Maybe you could buy yourself belongings that you think might make you happy, and they might make you happy for a little while. Oh boy, I got this nice, fancy sports car. Look at how cool I am. I can do 220 miles an hour. Oh my God. Yeah, that'll make you happy. But it'll only make you happy for as long as that toy is new and happy to you. Once you become bored of that toy, it's no longer going to make you happy. There is no long-term happiness in things. When you die, there's not going to be things standing around your grave going, oh, she was so wonderful. Oh, I miss her so much. So just remember that. It's not about things. You have all the things that you want. And I'm not saying it's not fun to have things, but things are not going to make you happy or give you a hug or tell you how much they love you. And that's what life is about. So, in the end, on your deathbed, when you're thinking about your life, you don't want to have any regrets. And that's what I tend to reflect back on those things and just look at, like, honestly, am I doing something right now that's making me happy? Well, not really. Does this make me happy? The abuse? No, not really. But is it something that is important to me? So someday, when my kid is older and I'm laying on my deathbed, I can say that I did all I could. And my daughter will remember that. She knows I work hard. She wants me to stop the radio so bad just because it interferes so much with my life. Every single time I'm upstairs, somebody is bothering me or there's another problem and I have to leave dinner or I have to stop what I'm doing or I have to end a conversation and come fix something or come deal with somebody who can't wait or some person who's having a fit because they didn't get a response from an email that was unimportant. I just, this is not fun, but this is important. Now, what else could I be doing instead of this? I could be making all kinds of money by working. I could have my job back. I could have money falling from the sky and spending it like a drunken sailor. Would that make me happy? Maybe for a little while as I'm sitting on a beach somewhere drinking a Mai Tai with a little umbrella cocktail. But in the end, was it important? No, it wasn't. Which is why I'm not working anymore. Because when I sat back to take a look at what that carrot got me, chasing that carrot all the time, because they would always dangle the carrot. What, Jules, you want to quit? Here, let's give you some more benefits. let's, I don't know, give you another week's vacation. Let's figure out what we can do to keep you here. And that's how they do it in corporate America. Unless you're at a company, which I've been at one of these before too, and this company did end up being like this at the end. We don't give a shit if you stay here, and wow, we'd hope you'd leave. Don't let the door hit you in the ass by the end. And New York State is I think they call it a right to work state. Yeah, it's a right to work state. So basically the worker has no protections. Like, I know growing up, I always thought my dad was union, and I didn't really realize what the unions were at the time, but I did know that they went on strike a few times to fight for better conditions and for better pay, and they won, and they got what they wanted, you know what I mean? And so, seeing that as a little kid, it maybe gives you a false sense that the worker has some say against the big corporations. But, I mean, in these days, there aren't many unions left. And if you're in a union, I don't know, people say they're bad. The unions, I mean, there are bad aspects of unions. Absolutely. A lot of the union upper, echelon, the controlling parties of the unions tend to be, and I'm not going to say always, but I have seen a lot of corruption in different news stories and things with unions over the years. Money corrupts, remember that. It does not buy happiness. And it becomes like a drug, by the way. Money is that endorphin, instant gratification, adrenaline, rush that you get when you do other things, like play violent video games or drone bomb children in Afghanistan while you're sitting in your drone headquarters in Colorado or Utah or Virginia or wherever you are. It's all that same adrenaline, endorphin, cocaine area of the brain that is being stimulated. And what happens is when there is constant stimulation in that part of the brain, you then form an addiction, right? It expects those chemicals. And you then become like the rat. I mean, I've seen all these studies on rats where they've played with this whole area of the brain and the reward system, and it's exactly what it does. You get a bigger high every time you go back to that. And so to get that high, you gotta go back to that rush. So whether it's chasing the dangling carrot for more money, I'm telling you guys, that was my thing, and it was like a rat. It was like ding every Friday, ding, ding, and I would push myself. And I wanted to quit for 5, let's see, my daughter's now 8, and it was long before then, so maybe I wanted to quit for 8 of the 10 years, 12 years. I was there 12. 8 of the 12 years I was there. But I didn't, because there was always the ding on Fridays. And then, when I'd have a fit and I was done, they would just give me a double ding. Ding, ding. How about a company car? How about, like I said, another week's vacation? How about commission? And that's the way it worked. And it worked pretty successfully for a long time, but I was duped. All that work, all that time, all that effort went to somebody else. And it all went to things that, a lot of jobs I've done went to things that just have no implication whatsoever for a better humanity. This job, I spent 12 years building the matrix, building the surveillance state, building the backbones of everything that's dropping on us now. So this last time was like tangoing with the devil. I helped build all this. And every time when I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, ding, here we go. And they just sucked me down another day of doing something that now I see I shouldn't have helped do at all. Who knew? Who knew the internet and networks would be what they are now? Who knew that it would be the surveillance state? I never saw it coming. I was 25 years I've been engulfed in this. And I never saw, I saw dystopia, I saw 1984, but I didn't see that was how it was all gonna turn. You could say I maybe seem naive, but I still had hope that we do the right thing. You know? Isn't that kind of sucky? That we can't do the right thing? We can't make it just open internet for everyone, a great place for a burgeoning renaissance of ideas like it has been for the last 25 years. Can't we just, like the University of Alexandria online, free for everyone globally, to get a free college education? Make advanced degrees. Make masters and PhDs the pay degrees, but let everybody get a free Princeton or MIT education online. And actually a few of those universities have done that. They put all their courseware online. I think MIT is one of them. You can search on YouTube, or if somebody's interested, I know at one point I had a mass amount of free degree resources out there. One of the universities is actually allowing you to pursue a degree. Obviously you're not paying for credit hours, so you're not going to be necessarily in a classroom with a teacher, but they make all the courses, the lectures, every one is recorded with video, and all the courseware available to everyone, and you can apply for a certificate. So you literally can get an online degree at a place like MIT. You won't get an actual bachelor's degree, but you will get a certificate saying that you successfully completed the class of, XYZ at MIT. And I gotta tell you, here's one thing that people don't realize necessarily. In the past, at least when I was growing up, there was a choice. Actually, there were three choices. When you got out of high school, you did one of three things. 1, you went to college. 2, you joined the service. 3, you got a job. Well, when I got out of high school, Ronnie Reagan was still the president. And the Iran-Contra scandal, I don't think it was in full swing. I think by that point, Ollie North was in trials. They had him testifying. But things were ramping up for some global skirmishes. A bunch of my friends joined the service. I went into college. By the time I graduated college, the first Gulf War was just kicking off. And so any of my friends that had gone into the armed services after high school ended up going to Iraq, and getting involved in the first Gulf War. And getting experimented on. We've talked about all that, the anthrax vaccine and the squalene and whatever. And they all have issues now. Every single one of them. And none of them had kids, because they couldn't. Convenient? Maybe. I don't know. They all think that their issues came from the vaccine. Don't think the VA is going to tell you anything, though. I'm all over the place here this morning. We're going to look at some clips here in a minute, but I'm just rambling to wake up. Let me tell you a little something about the VA. The scandal that's going on. We can look at some of this because I just can't even believe how big this is. We did business with them, the company that I worked for, the federal. So they would be looking for federal contracts. FBO.gov. Those guys were some of the most messed up places that we dealt with. The VA. It's federal bureaucracy. And I just don't see what uninformed left-winger out there who's waving a banner for Obamacare, where they have any examples of government-run healthcare as being a good idea. Where? Show me. Show me. Canada? Not. Australia? Not. The VA? Not. So tell me, where's your example of good government-run healthcare? Maybe Sweden? Sure. Sweden's all about health. Sweden doesn't load their population up with poisons and then make them a cash cow for the pharmaceutical agencies. So Sweden's probably a great place. Clean air, young, healthy, and everybody's blonde. Well, I don't know if that's true, but Sweden always struck me as a type of place that would be fun to live. Cold, but fun to live. Anyway, back to the VA. Here's a prime example. My dad, if you haven't heard the stories, this is not the time for me to get into them, but his whole excursion down to Antarctica and, his dealings with Old Leaky, one of the first nuclear reactors that was spewing radiation all over down there. He got contacted, I talked about this too, he got contacted by one of the guys that he was on the ice with, and the guy was saying that a lot of them had gotten sick and had blood issues, and they all blamed it on that nuclear reactor. So, my dad had some strange things happening with his blood, and they had warned him a few times. So he went to the VA. Now his doctor, he had a normal doctor, and she had told him his platelets were misformed or something was funky with his blood. He went to the VA, and he talked to them, and he said that, one of the guys had contacted him, and he was on this mission, and they had this nuclear reactor, and blah, 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 right? You'd think it's the VA. They might have a little more understanding of something in that rather than a commercial doctor. They're like, all right, we'll do some blood tests. All right, let's get this. His blood came out absolutely normal at the VA. Nothing wrong with you. Have a nice day. Well, his primary care doctor does follow-ups on him. He gets his blood done again. His blood's still all messed up. So explain that to me. Explain how he goes to the VA and tells them the story about Old Leaky on his military mission, and his blood comes back perfect. Explain that. And he goes to his primary care and his blood's all messed up. Now, I don't know who's telling the truth here, but I'm gonna guess just because of the circumstances with Old Leaky involved, that it probably is not his commercial doctor that is manufacturing some sort of result to try and put him on some sort of pharmaceutical. I mean, I could see, we know that radiation causes issues with your blood and leukemias and whatever. So, I'm gonna call bullshit on the VA and their blood tests. And from everything that we've seen now with these waiting lists and, people dying and being swept under the rug and the death lists, and even the new vets coming back into the United States are being put on wait lists. It's just unbelievable. So, why is this important to us? It's important to us because that's our future health care. You don't think Obamacare is gonna be stellar compared to that? Another government-run, bloated pig? That's what it is. It's a big bloated pig. And it's rare anybody gets fired, I'm sure. Just like every other federal program that's out there. What? Congress? Hey, look at how well we do with the feds being in charge. It's kind of like New York State. Spend, 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 tax, tax, tax. Oh, how many $100,000+ a year plow drivers does New York State have on the taxpayer budget? We have more than we've ever had before. Wow. That's great. But what? New York State's running out of money. You gotta raise our taxes. But what? The state and the teachers union, they give the teachers free plastic surgery on the taxpayer dime? What? Guys, it is just so freaking corrupt. When I hear all this, I am so cynical now. I really am. You know, when I see any of these bleeding hearts, and a lot of my friends, you know, I used to be there. I was a bleeding heart. Oh, save the trees. Yeah, save the trees. But don't support a federal program to save the trees. Don't send them $50. You might get 50 cents that goes to feed the trees. The $49.50 is gonna go for, you know, I was trying to think of a goofy name off the top of my head. The guy who's in charge, you're gonna go for paying for his, retirement plan. It's gonna go into his pension fund. The federal pension fund that they'll probably get. We're never gonna see pension funds. They're getting rid of them as fast as they can. Alright, so, you know what? Here, let me just make sure that I don't have my player on. And oh, look at that, I do. Because we're going to call me, and then we're going to play a couple clips, because I was queuing them up over the weekend. Add some people, I just got to remember my name. Yeah, and I got to remember the alphabet too. J. There we go. Jules. That's my name. Don't wear it out. And answer. Oh, yes, and it's silent. Okay. So, a couple things I wanted to talk about. We were talking about the feds. There's some things going on in the Middle East, and I haven't been on since, was I even on Friday? I was on Friday. I haven't been on since Friday, so there's a lot that's kind of pent up, but let's talk about some of the stuff that was going on. So you guys saw Memorial Day, the one that Obama's sending all these troops all over the world now to go get blown up. And then he decides he's making a surprise trip to Afghanistan. Wasn't that nice of him? Surprise at my $1 million a flight. I wonder if he took his limo with him. Remember that last time? He freaking took his limo with him on Air Force One. So surprise, I show up in Afghanistan, and Karzai, who was sending shopping bags full of money all this time, who is now going to be leaving office, and I thought he already did, but sounds like just like us. Once the president's elected, there's that crossover. So he was elected, but, and I don't know anything really about Afghanistan politics, so don't ask me. I just know that Karzai's term was over. There was an election. The new guy was elected. Obama was just there for Memorial Day. Karzai refused to meet with him, it said. Now, what's interesting about that story is that I had heard a story on Sunday or Monday. It was a story from us, from one of the MSM networks, stating that Obama didn't have time to meet with Karzai, and he called him when he was on his way to whatever next country he was going to terrorize from Air Force One. But when I came home, I saw a story, and this might have been one of the, press TVs, one of the foreign, news networks, stating that Obama was on the ground in Afghanistan meeting the troops at a surprise visit, and Karzai would not meet with him. And, I wouldn't doubt that, and the reason why I wouldn't doubt that is because, Karzai was being given money to do what he was told. Right? I mean, that's what it's about. They were buying loyalties. I doubt we're giving him shopping bags full of money anymore because he doesn't matter to us anymore. I mean, Karzai matters in the fact that he's still in charge, but he won't be for very much longer. And he has been very cooperative with us, though over the last few months, I've seen him opening his mouth. He's actually made some snide remarks. Now, if I can find it, and I mean, this is one of those stories that's so far back there now that they were all these dots I wanted to connect for you, and I never got to them. Well, here's the clip about Karzai refusing to meet. Yeah, it is. It's Press TV. There was a story a few weeks ago of Karzai being in China, shaking hands with the Chinese president because they just cut a deal. Now, about a month before that, there was a story about the president, the new president, not the Muslim Brotherhood puppet that we put in there, the new one after the coup, was in China, meeting with the Chinese president, cutting a deal. Egypt and Afghanistan, guys. And now we just saw Putin shaking hands with the Chinese president, cutting a big fat deal. They're stacking it all up against us. And if anyone did not get to catch Brandon's show Monday night, Truth on the Tracks, I highly recommend to catch the replay on Friday. It's Friday at 9 is the replay. 9 p.m. Eastern. He talks about all the geopolitics that are going on over there right now, involving all those countries, including Syria and Ukraine and Russia and China and Iran, and how all this is playing out. And Z-Big Brzezinski and his grand chessboard, and outlines this whole scenario. 1997. This is the end game that they're playing out right now. Absolutely. I never read the grand chessboard, so when I started cutting this episode and was listening to some of what Brandon was talking about, I was like, holy shit. I went online and I found a couple lectures by Mike Rupert. Actually, I cut about 2 minutes into the center of that for the break. So you'll hear Mike Rupert kind of talk just the beginning of one of those lectures of all the things that Z-Big did and all the positions he's held. And Rupert has 2 or 3 different lectures. There was one that was about 10 minutes. There was another one that was like 40. But I highly recommend it. Brandon told me that the grand chessboard is quite a read. Brzezinski had quite a way with writing, so it's kind of high-level prose, you know, where you're doing decoding. So it's nice to have somebody do a lecture and kind of talk about it for you. So I would highly recommend it. I know Rupert's name is not in the description, but if somebody wants them after the show, I could drop the links in the chat. But anyway, and Mike Rupert is gone now. I don't know if anyone, if you guys remember that or not, but he committed suicide a couple months ago, so that was very sad. I never really had known him when he was broadcasting, though a lot of the anti-nuclear activists, I guess, were pretty friendly with him, and he used to have them on his radio show, the Lifeboat Hour. Hey, I just want to jump over to chat and say hello to everybody. I see Pioneer Woman here. I want to say good morning, and I have been meaning to email you guys to see how you've survived. I'm really glad to see you. I'm glad to see everybody, but I'm glad to see Pioneer Woman. I miss people when they disappear for a while. Should we do a call out? I think we should. Hold on. I haven't done this in a long time, but it's a sunny, happy Wednesday. So why not? So good morning to Hawks. Board is here even. Good morning, Board. Mr. Jimmy, Hecty, Joe Friday, Koi Koi, Maddie, Pioneer Woman. Oh, the Anons are running away. They don't want me to call them out. Pioneer Woman, so glad to see you. SLC Mike, who should now be called. Are we going to change your name, Mike? We're going to change you to, Or Mike. Mike Or. Though, I don't know. I kind of like SLC Mike. Salvanor's here. Good morning, Saul. Vince, Captain, Gringo, Rads, and One Anon. All the other ones snuck away. I'm glad you guys could all be here this morning. Yes, I do with the voices on in my coffee cup tell me to. Anyway, so let's get back to where we were. I don't even remember. Was I talking about Kurzai? Oh, I was talking about Brandon. Yeah, so if you did not catch that show, very highly recommended. He actually posted it on his site. It's already ripped to YouTube too, if you're not around Friday. But I gotta tell you, I have learned I never paid attention to politics when I was younger. I just hated it all. I hated the corruption. I hated just this, they would make promises and no one would ever follow through with them. So I just couldn't be bothered with it at all. But not realizing how important it is that we're watching what these jerks are doing. You know what I mean? Like, I never realized that it was just utmost corruption to the nth degree. So now, all right. So it's been the last 3.5 years of this massive ramp up, trying to understand who's screwing who, who's got what hand in whose pockets to get a better picture as to where we are now and where it's going. And there were three, when I first got into this, that really taught me so much for what I understand now for all the geopolitics over in Europe and Asia and whatever you want to call it. I mean, Russia, Asia, the Middle East, they call that Eurasia. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. That whole region. The three of them would be Tarpley. Tarpley was the first, and I know people say things about that he's a socialist and whatever. His economics are one separate thing. His background as a historian and understanding politics are totally something else. And even if you have issues with his monetary policy ideas, you shouldn't have issues with his historical and political ideas because Tarpley is world class. Tarpley, I mean, when I listen to him, I'm like, whoa, every single week. I didn't know that. I learned something from him every single week, and the guy is impeccable. The second one then that I ran across was Tony Cartalucci. Tony Cartalucci runs a Land Destroyer blog. He's involved in a couple other projects now, but way back in the beginning, it was just his Land Destroyer blog. Tony, I believe, is a fan of Tarpley's, but he's got a little bit different spin. He's been following Syria and Iran and Libya and all that for a long time. So I highly recommend reading his stuff as well. Number 3 was Brandon Turbeville. Brandon, wrote for Activist Post when we first met him. He still does. But he was a guest of Madison's, and that was how we met him. And Madison used to bring him on to talk about what was going on in the Middle East. And now Brandon's got his own blog, and he writes for a few other publications, and he's got a show. He's been here for about 1.5 years now, I think. And I really enjoy his show. I really do. I mean, every week I learn something that I didn't know, something that causes me to go off on, another 10 hours of research to go, oh my God, now I see how it all connects. So anyway, I guess this week too, he sent me the show yesterday. This week is going to be off the hook as well. So if you haven't heard it, I highly recommend it to at least get you up to speed as to what the real story is in the background, because it's pretty dirty. This is just all dirty. And if you didn't know about the grand chessboard and you start looking at that, I mean, these plans, and we know the plans have all been out there, but these are more recent plans. These aren't like George Bush Sr. from way back when in his CIA days. These are 1997, like we laid it out. One of our new hosts coming on, and I think I mentioned, right, there's four shows coming in the next 8 days. And then Brandon's working on 3 more, by the way. So there might be 7 new shows running the summer. Oh, I lost it. I lost what I was talking about. All right. Anyway, here. Karzai refuses to meet Obama at Bagram Air Base. Let's play this one. This one gave me a chuckle. Especially since
Afghan president.
Especially since the U.S. mainstream media said that Obama didn't have time to meet with him and called him from Air Force One when he was jet setting to his next visit. And then Press TV, Iranian television, comes out and goes, whoops. Yeah, Karzai did not want to meet with him, and I don't blame him at all. All right, here we go.
Hamid Karzai's turned down an offer to visit his American counterpart Barack Obama at a U.S. air base outside Kabul. President Karzai said he was ready to meet the visiting U.S. president at his presidential palace and not the Bagram airfield. Relations between the two sides have been strained over the Afghan leader's refusal to sign a bilateral security agreement with the United States. The pact would allow Washington to keep its forces in Afghanistan beyond the 2014 exit deadline. Karzai has frequently criticized the U.S. for acting like a colonial power in its attempts to force him to sign the security agreement.
It all began when U.S.-led forces invaded Afghanistan in 2001 under the pretext of ousting the Taliban and combating terrorism in the wake of 9/11 attacks. After more than 13 years of a devastating war, the Taliban are a long way from being defeated and have been growing in strength. Now, U.S. President Barack Obama, who in 2007 made an election promise to end the Afghan war soon, is again pledging that the conflict would come to an end by the end of this year.
And by the end of this year, the transition will be complete, and Afghans will take full responsibility for their security, and our combat mission will be over.
Now, hold on. Hold on, because there were a couple more clips that came out yesterday. Yeah, so our mission's going to be over, which means we leave 9,800 troops behind? Yeah, that sure sounds like our mission is over, huh? I'm sure that's one of the reasons why Karzai was pissed. But wait, there's more. Hold on, there's more.
I believe it was October 2007 when Obama was a candidate, and he made a promise that if the war in Afghanistan wasn't over by the time he took office, if he was elected president, he would end the war, he would bring all American troops home. Well, instead of bringing the troops home, he sent thousands more there. The war continues. The war was supposed to have ended 3 years ago. 2 years ago, now it's this year, maybe it'll be next year. His supposed surprise visit to Afghanistan was no surprise at all. It simply wasn't announced.
Obama's visit comes...
And one last thing, yeah, so Obama did say that. We're going to bring all the troops home and we're going to ramp everything down as he's like funneling more troops out there. But hey, we had a bumper poppy crop, and heroin use in teens is a new epidemic in the United States. Where'd all that come from? Yeah, that's what all the buckets of money was about.
Is the fate of a long-awaited pact called the Bilateral Security Agreement, which is intended to keep thousands of U.S. troops in Afghanistan beyond the 2014 deadline, is still in limbo. The U.S. claims that under the agreement, its special forces would stay to conduct counter-terror operations and support and train Afghan forces.
The war in Afghanistan will still be continuing because whoever the people are there, the Taliban, whoever they are, they want their country back. America won't give them back. America wants to station troops there on a permanent basis. The war will continue.
Afghanistan's outgoing President Hamid Karzai says the deal would not be signed until after the presidential election. The two candidates, Abdullah Abdullah and Ashraf Ghani, have already promised to sign the security deal if elected president. However, the Taliban have time and again insisted that the agreement will never be accepted and warned that the militant group would continue its fight. Afghans have also become increasingly angry at civilian casualties caused by American forces. They're also weary of night raids, aerial bombardments, and deadly U.S. drones. The U.S. failure to defeat the Taliban is seen as a key factor in why support has fallen for its mission, which has left a legacy of insecurity and poverty in Afghanistan.
A horrendous legacy. There have been so many Afghans killed. The situation in Afghanistan is so horrific, from the number of deaths on a regular basis, to the extreme poverty, to the starvation, to the homelessness, to the young children. The mortality rate among young children, 5 years old and under, is absolutely off the charts. This is all because of America's war.
Now, with the U.S. president making a visit to Afghanistan as the country is preparing to bring to power one of the two presidential candidates who have already shown green light to the U.S. presence, it remains to be seen if Obama keeps his promise and ends the U.S. war this year.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's just so sad. I mean, there were just all kinds of dead people in that clip. We are just slaughtering and ruining these countries. I mean, Oh, it just gets me so upset. You know, we've done this over and over and over and over again now. It's like a cookie cutter. Alright, JJ's gonna come on for a second, and he's got a book at 10, so hold on, let me just grab him right now. You know, I have more to talk about Afghanistan, because there's more that happened. You saw that the CIA, the head of the CIA in Afghanistan was outed accidentally. Hold on, I gotta remember what JJ's name is. He changed it on Skype. Jay. He is another Jay. He's James. There he is. Hold on. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Actually, JJ knows a lot about Afghanistan. I've been posting them on his Facebook page. There he is. Good morning, JJ.
Hey, good morning, Jules.
So, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Hold on just a second here. Is that my phone ringing?
Let it ring. All right.
Yeah, no, it's Time Warner. Fuck them guys. I gotta shut off the player because I just opened the chat room, that's all.
Yeah, all right.
And there we go. Okay.
So,
I'm doing fine. I went back to, I mean, you'd be amazed when you can get how better you can feel about yourself when you're, I don't know.
Working and making money and having the carrot that I talked about earlier?
It's sort of that.
Yeah,
you know what? It's not real. Well, it is that. You're absolutely right. But I went 3 years without working, and I had a crazy 3 years this last 3 years. You were here for a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And I just needed to get back to being normal again for a while. And it's done amazing things for me. But the dangling carrot, yeah, I mean, you know what it's really made me decide is my wife and I are 100% getting ready to finish up the house, put it on the market, get somewhere way more within our means. I mean, just the taxes alone where I live are crazy.
Yeah.
And try to enjoy, stop chasing the dangling rabbit, get a couple of, jobs that don't have to be six figures, and just exist and be happy instead of, because we chase that, dangling carrot.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, there are some counties that the taxes are just off the hook, and then there are some counties that they're just so manageable. My friend Sharon lives in another county in New York. She's down toward Finger Lakes region. And
where I live.
Yeah, but not that
right.
far. She's down south, of Rochester.
Probably Cayuga or something.
Yeah, one of those counties. But, their taxes are half. Half of what we pay here, and more expensive house and half of what we pay here.
Well, really, I could go 20 miles. I could go, 15 miles from where I live right now. And like, for instance, mine are $6,000 a year.
Yeah.
I could drive about 15 miles from here out by the lake up in the hills, and they're like $600 a year.
And it's not like you and I live in any type of mansion or anything.
Yeah, we don't live in what do they call them, gated communities or anything.
My house was built in 1982 prefab, okay? And I pay like 50, this last year was 52 or 54, so close. But we started at like $2,500. So
my taxes go up every single year.
Yeah, every
year. Never, not 1 year has it even just stayed the same. It's gone up every single year, even if it was just a few dollars. I put away $500 a month just to pay my taxes at the end of the year.
Yep, me too. It's horrible.
So, yeah. And you know what it is? Because we had to have a bunch of stuff that we could afford it. It was within our means, sort of, but we, chased that carrot. We got a big house and sunk tons of money into it, and we just really didn't have to. We could have, gone a different route had we not been, but I gotta remind you, and you remember 10, 15 years ago, every commercial was, you deserve a house. You deserve your first house. If you don't get your first house, you're being cheated out of the American dream.
Yeah.
And so,
I
fell for it.
Not only that, but if you remember, that was when you were getting like 87 credit card offers daily in the mail. They were giving credit cards to everybody, mortgages to everybody, and then when everything collapsed, they were like, oh, how'd that happen?
Then they blame all those people.
Yeah! And now, I just saw a story the other day that they've done a correlation, and I mean, you could have probably figured this one out intuitively, but they did a numbers correlation and showed it on the charts, a complete, absolute connection between foreclosures and suicides in middle age. I mean, could you imagine being our age and losing your home and your family and everything's out on the street? What are you going to do?
Well, we've talked about it, actually, as funny as that may sound, but no, I mean, I can't imagine it. I spent most of my life, you know what I'm saying, till I was about 30.
Hustling.
Yeah. So it wouldn't have mattered to me back then, but now I have a family. You know what I'm saying? It would be devastating. Yeah. I wouldn't commit suicide, but it would be devastating.
You could see how it happens, and especially if you had been part of the pharmaceutical.
Yes, and I have sympathy for those people.
Well, especially if your doctor had been pumping you full of SSRIs to keep depression away.
And remember,
you couldn't make your mortgage payments.
You're the one that turned me on to the research that shows that you take these SSRIs and you mix them with the glyphosates from all this fucking fertilizer and pesticide, and you have people with violent, homicidal, suicidal tendencies.
Well, that was Dr. Lucier. That was Madison's guest. That was her research. And she was doing the DNA test to show that these people that had these violent outbursts that had ended up in the penal system in Australia had never had issues before. It was very uncharacteristic of them. Every single one of them had been on SSRIs and had this suppression of the cytochrome P450 enzyme. And then that story that just came out though last year showing that glyphosate causes the suppression of the cytochrome P450 enzyme.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
it. It's the Roundup.
So you combine the two.
Roundup is causing the gun violence and the suicides in the people on the antidepressants.
Yes.
100%. There is no doubt in my mind.
And then when you get to the military, you couple that with, PTSD. Mm-hmm. It's just a horrible mixture.
And now you see, over the last 3 or 4 days, there've been all these shootings. I saw last night, right before I went to bed, a 3-year-old killed his baby brother now with a gun somewhere.
Yeah.
They're coming for him. They're coming for him. And this last one that happened, apparently that California kid, the one with
the 1,000-page manifesto.
Oh my God. The whole thing. When I started watching that, I'm like, first of all,
and then it gets even better. Now they found videos that, that he put out
You're a rich kid driving a Beamer and you live in Southern Cali and you're gonna kill people because you can't get a chick?
And it's every channel all day long, all night long, and then what do they keep talking about? Well, copycat killers all try to outdo each other. Well, then why are you running it 24 fucking hours a day? You piece of shit.
Well, and the one big thing is, well, how did he get all these legal guns? Police were aware of him and he was under the care of psychiatrists. Well, yeah.
He got him from the CIA. Where the fuck else did he get him? I don't know.
The whole thing just stinks to me. My friend, when we were talking about this when the story first broke, my friend is saying, I don't know, you're a rich kid, take $1,000 and go to Vegas and get a hooker.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're that hard up.
Jules, with $500, I could go get you a gun right now.
Well, and a hooker. You know what I mean? Then it would be a non-issue.
A hooker? Really?
No, but that's what the kid was, because none of the girls liked him, and he was
I know, and now there's a freaking, I found out today there's a community of people out there that are blaming women who turn men down for this kind of violence.
Yeah?
Yeah!
Well, of course, they're called abusive husbands.
If you just give up the nookie, everything would be alright. I mean...
Yeah, well,
I'm crazy.
Having a teenage daughter, man, I'd be like, from your perspective,
I mean, your body is the ultimate and your own personal freaking property, in my eyes, and not a single soul on this planet has the right to touch your personal property without your permission.
Well, that's why I think this fall we are going to start some karate classes, is what I've come to the conclusion for. Because
something, man.
I'll tell you what, I really wish that I would have known karate chops.
Bundy's
Or Bog
example
Maga.
and take Krav Maga or something.
Maga, yeah.
Maga, I don't know. Whatever, what it's called, it's some badass shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, just anything that gives you confidence. You know, the further along you get into martial arts, the more confident you become. And the less violent you become, you know, frankly.
Well, because they teach you to be mellow and be in balance, and
you have the confidence that you can handle most of the, you know, most one-on-one confrontation. A lot of it has to do with confidence, in my opinion.
My old boss.
Violence. A lot of people who get violent, they're not confident and they're scared, and their first instinct is to try to strike, and before they can be struck. And that and that escalates things that don't have to necessarily end in a fist fight. I know for a fact. I mean, I was a freaking bar fighter and a street fighter until I was 30, man. I didn't feel like I had a good night if I didn't get into a brawl. But, that was just, it was like, I don't know, man. The more confident you get, the less you want to brawl. You take alcohol out of the picture and whoop, there you go.
Yeah.
A woman should be able to defend herself, in my opinion. I mean,
my old boss was a double black belt and, an instructor for probably 30 years by that time. But John he just had such a great perspective with the way he viewed the world. He was the executive vice president. And but he was the nicest, mellowest guy. You know what I mean? And you would think that, and most of the people in that company were just such horrible people. Just, they would stab you in the back if they thought that they could make a few more bucks. You know what I mean? But John was he had managed to be there for 30 years. He figured out how to navigate through it all and deal with the bullshit. But it was all about balance. And it was all about being the crane, where the water hits your feathers and just rolls off. And he had taught me some really good things, like people who have issues with narcissism, let's say, always have to have it be their idea. So if you were in management, let's say, and you had an idea, they would try to always kill your idea because it wasn't their idea. So he gave me a little helpful hint. He's like, make them think it's their idea. Put your idea out there, but put it out there in such a way that it's like you're talking about something that maybe they thought of. And that's exactly what would happen. And it worked every time. Using the Jedi mind trick.
Excuse me. Yeah. Listen, I actually have to run, so let's do
your announcements.
Yeah, I'll just say that, I guess Sunday, June 1st, what was the time slot again? 10 to noon?
10 to noon, yeah, and I gotta tell Shally, he starts his 2 hours this week. Shally wanted to go back to
that's a lot. I did that for a year. I did, 3 hours a day and,
yeah, that is a lot.
3 hours on a Sunday.
That sucks your whole day.
Well, it does, cause it takes, 2 or 3 hours to put together a 2 or 3 hour show, and then, that's 6 hours of your day.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you do that every day for 5 days. I got really burned out. I love doing it though, and that's why I'm coming back Sunday, June 1st, 10 to noon, UCY, UCY.TV, UCY Media Empire.
Yeah, Media Empire.
Yeah, also July 4th, July 5th, July 6th, just outside of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, is the 4th annual Freedom Palooza.
Are you going to be broadcasting from there? Isn't there a show that day?
What I'm going to try to do is get a 1 month Ustream, and then the Verizon 4G, which I am going to try to do it.
Well, wait. Are you going to we'll talk about this, but I got a live account with YouTube now. And I got it working.
Yeah, we should try that.
Yeah, we should. I got it working. I did all kinds of testing here. I was doing ponytail cam. The only thing that sucks is that every new stream is a new embed window. So every time I start a new show, I have to embed a new window on a web page for you to see it, unless you go to YouTube. So we'll work that out.
What we'll do is we just because we're generally, if we get all 30 speakers and 30 bands to show up and not to puss out on us, then it's like 10 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. So it's just on and live. You can keep it as one stream. We'd have to do 3 streams, one for each day, but.
Right. Yeah, and I'll just set it up the next morning. Yeah, we'll get it worked out. So that's July, what are the days again?
4th, 5th, and 6th. It's a Friday,
4th,
Saturday,
5th, and 6th.
Sunday.
Okay. And
you can go to freedompalooza.com, freedompalooza.org.
And it's down in Pennsylvania again.
It's in Pennsylvania.
And I think you said Mr. Jack Blood's going to be there, is he not?
JB's coming, yeah.
Yeah, I heard him mention that on air the one day.
We're looking at Mark Farner coming. I don't know if he's going to make it, because we're going to be going up there to do a festival in Michigan later this summer. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We're trying to get Roger Waters there this year. Free Palestine, baby.
Wow. Roger Waters?
Of Pink Floyd.
Could you imagine?
Very same.
That would be amazing.
I never in my life thought I'd meet, the founder of Grand Funk Railroad. So, love Paul Petty, love my friends at Poker Face, and love all the people who listen to my show, man. That's the only reason I keep doing it. Why the hell else would I? You know what I'm saying? I'm preaching to the choir. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't already know. But what I am doing is I just have this connection with a bunch of people, and we're all friends, and it makes me feel good to I guess entertain. I don't have a problem with saying that I'm entertaining people, that I'm not, whatever, waking people up and, all the other nonsense you hear all over, just before they ask you to support them and donate and buy their
Squatty Potty.
Squatty Potties. I didn't want to say it because I thought people were sick of hearing it.
Don't you find it therapeutic? I know I do. Yeah. Just getting it off my chest when stuff pisses me off. It's better. You guys want to hear it. My family doesn't.
You know what?
Difference.
You're right. My family all thinks I'm a lunatic.
Well, me too. Well, not as much anymore. I think they're all starting to go, I was talking about this the other day. Holy shit, Joel, you were right. But they still don't want to hear it. They still don't want to hear it. They're like, all right, we've had enough of the doom and gloom. We want to go back, into our, what does Kevin call it? The dogma snuggie?
Dogma syndrome, yeah.
Snuggie, yes, for a little while. And rock ourselves.
I'm going to try to hook up with him when I go out west.
Oh, you have to. You absolutely have to.
Because I am going to go through Utah.
When Blanche comes back to New York City this summer, he's going to have to let me know, because I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll go down there with you. For that.
That'd be fun. Yes, Jimmy says my Squatty Potty is very therapeutic.
Well, listen, let me preface that by saying it is the most natural way to evacuate your bowels is to squat. It's the way you were designed. Right. But, come on, man.
Squatty Potty.
All right, Jules. Thank you, guys.
Sunday, listen, JJ will be on Sunday morning at 10. Don't miss it. I will be working today and tomorrow on getting your banner updated. I might change your bricks. I don't know. We're going to have to see. I'm going to do some searching. We'll freshen it up a little bit.
All right, don't put yourself out.
Oh, no, but.
Because basically we do have everything already there. All you gotta do is activate it.
I just gotta turn it on and put it in the right slot, so we'll be able to.
If you're really pressed for time, just don't worry about it.
Alright, well, I got 3 other banners I still gotta do, so.
Okay.
It'll be creative session. Alright, you have fun. I'll catch up with you before the end of the week for sure.
Alright, thank you. Before the first cup, guys, UCY.TV.
Woo! Alright, JJ, have a good day. Alright, he's gone. That was awesome. So JJ is back Sunday morning. Yeah, I don't know if Shally's out there, but I know Shally's been waiting patiently for me to put something on before him. So we actually had still morning programming on Sunday. So this will be the week. I'm not sure. Let me talk about some of the other shows that are coming. So this coming Saturday, we have another new show coming called The New Deal Renaissance. Matt, and I don't know if he's going to have co-hosts. The host is Matt. He is an acquaintance of Brandon Tuberville's. I've listened to a few of his podcasts. They're great. He deals with politics, science, and technology. I'm putting him in the second Tarpley slot of Saturday. Usually we have the one Tarpley slot that runs noon to 2, which is the week before's show. And then we have the second slot, which is the 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday, which is the brand new show of the week. That is where I'm putting Matt's show, is in the 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it will be Cynthia Brooks with her I Cure Cancer. And then Matt's show will follow that. And then after Matt is going to be Chuck's show, The Achille Effect, and then our roundtable. So it should be a great Saturday evening. JJ is coming in then Sunday morning, 10 to noon. And Drew from Double Cross Radio is looking at doing he's taking your suggestions. You guys were all asking for a farming show. Drew thought that was a great idea. You guys all know that he started his own aquaponics farm and has been quite successful. He's doing a lot of commercial business now. So Drew is going to be starting an off-grid show that is going to run in Dinah's slot at 2. Dinah had to take some time off for family reasons. If she at some point decides to come back, we will most certainly find a slot for her. But for right now, it's not possible for her. So I know we've been listening to Dinah Rebroads for quite a while. They're great shows, and I still listen to them every week because I always learn something. But at some point, we have to put something there. So Drew decided he is going to do an off-grid show, so that will go into Dinah slot 2 to 3 on Sundays. And then, let's see what else. Brandon has 3 other groups that are interested that had expressed an interest at one point, so he's going to be talking to them again. I think that is the Tax Wall Street Party is one. United Against Austerity is another, and then there's a secret. I can't tell you this one, but he's already talked to him, and he is interested in doing an exclusive show for UCY. He does a show on another very large network, but I'm going to keep that a secret until that actually happens, and I'm very excited, very, very excited about it. Somebody that it would just be really awesome to have him even do a 1 hour or 2 hour a week show for us. So that is coming in the future. And, you know, what a laugh, because I was expecting that we were going on life support for the summer. I'm going to tell you guys that I definitely this summer am going to back off a little bit, just because the last 2 summers I've gone full bore, have not taken time off, and before I knew it, the entire summer was gone, and my daughter's going, Mom, we didn't do anything this summer, so I'm not doing that this summer. I did discover, though, that I can get high-speed internet where I'm at. They have a new plan. See, my issue was before, when we go down to the woods, I either am on cell phone internet, which, you know, 3G is alright until it gets cloudy, or until it rains, and then I have real issues. And though maybe I can get on and share a few articles, doing voice is absolutely impossible down there, so I could never host a show. But now there's a deal. It used to be where if you got satellite internet, you know, it was like a $300 install fee and $80 a month, and then a $300 disconnect fee if you disconnected, you know, before the 2-year contract was up. And I mean, summer's 3 months out of the year. I'm not really down, you know, in the woods in the wintertime. We don't really, in New York State, we don't go too far in the winter. Especially like after this last winter. I mean, I haven't seen JJ since October, and that's just a trip down the thruway. But it's because the weather was so crappy. You know, we get lake effect snowstorms and that. If you've never been caught in one, trust me, you don't want to be. Especially on the thruway with tractor trailers and stuff where you can't see. So I tend to dig in for the wintertime. But anyway, so my internet provider now has a new seasonal deal. I talked to them about it 3 weeks ago. They have a seasonal deal. They boosted their speed, so now they have some sort of faster speed, like 10 meg upload, 1 meg download, which still isn't lightning, but it's way faster than it was, and it's enough to do voice. And they have a seasonal plan so that it's free install. It's $60 a month, and when you go off season, they turn it off, and all you pay for is the $10 a month for your equipment. So, hey, I can deal with $10 a month when I'm not there for 9 months out of the year. I could not deal with $80 a month for the 9 months out of the year when I'm not there. That was ridiculous. That's like another cell phone bill. So that is good news. That means that this summer I may actually be able to have my cake and eat it too. Anyway, so that's why we might be rolling with 7 new shows this summer instead of going on life support and waiting until the fall. Because if I can run it remotely and not be stuck in this dank cave that I sit in the darkness, it will be absolutely worth it to me. All right, let me hop back to what we were talking about. So we had gotten into Afghanistan and Karzai snubbing Obama saying he's getting rid of the troops, and then we find out, no, we're leaving 9,800 troops in there. Hey, we had a bumper poppy year and heroin is running rampant. But then this story about the CIA agent, and hold on, because I gotta scroll down. And I thought to myself, I wonder what he did to get outed. Because apparently he was accidentally outed to over 6,000 journalists. They gave his name to 6,000 journalists, so now they all know who he is, the guy running the CIA app in Afghanistan. And you can tell that I'm talking and trying to find it. Hold on. We are behind, people, and that's what happens when I am not up on my news. And damn it, I hope I can find it here. Maybe not. So you guys are just gonna have to believe me. Oh, that sucks. Hold on. Da, 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 da. We'll do searching music. Do, do, do. I gotta get that music, but they'll probably tag me on YouTube for it. Do, 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 do. Well, here's a story about it. Here, I'll bring this up. Oh, well, the story doesn't load. Oh God, I was on a roll too. Do 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 boom boom. Here, I found it. The story won't load, but I did find the video. Alright. White House accidentally ousts CIA official. Email to 6,000 plus reporters. Blows cover. What do you think of them apples? Just as we're over there saying, we're getting out. It's gonna play. Maybe.
It was a really big screw up, Rihanna. I mean, just to be very honest about this, and we should point out that the White House and the CIA are not commenting at this point about the release of the identity of what they call the station chief's name, or the top intelligence operative in Afghanistan. And we should also note that CNN and other news outlets are not reporting the individual's name either. But the way that this happened is basically White House press officials provided the name of the station chief to the print pool reporter who was traveling with the president on that trip to Afghanistan yesterday. The print pool reporter serves as sort of a go-between between the White House and other journalists around the country. This print pool reporter included the station chief's name in his pool report, sent it back to the White House before the White House then distributed that pool report out to some 6,000 journalists. And Rihanna, as you know from working here at the White House, the reason why that person's name was inadvertently included is because typically with presidential events, a list of participants is provided to a print pool reporter or TV pool reporter who will then share that with their colleagues through the pool system. They just didn't mean to put the station chief's name in it. That is not typically ever the case. You never put intelligence operatives' names who were perhaps at a presidential event when the president is abroad. And it basically was just an OMG sort of moment for the White House, for the press pool. The reporter for the Washington Post, who was acting as the print pool reporter, noticed the mistake, then alerted the White House, and the White House went back and put out a new list of participants that did not include that station chief's name. So a really big screw up all around.
Yeah, without even commenting sort of on what had happened. So these kinds of names are not normally given to the press at all, let alone given to the press and then distributed. So it makes you wonder. I mean, this is the top intelligence official, a U.S. intelligence official there. What does it mean for U.S. intelligence efforts in Afghanistan, and what does it mean for the CIA officer's career? Is it essentially over?
I think that's a very good question to ask, Brianna, and I think we can say that privately officials at the White House and I think in the intelligence community are very concerned about this. I mean, it sounds like, one of those government mix-ups that occasionally occur, but this is actually a very dangerous situation, and you don't want the name of a station chief released publicly for obvious reasons, and perhaps more than anybody out in the field for the CIA, the station chief in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is still operating, where al-Qaeda operatives may be operating across the border in Pakistan. And if that name were to ever be out there, it would obviously be a very big problem for the CIA. It would compromise the safety of that operative and perhaps his family and other colleagues in the field. So there's really just no way to underscore how serious a massive screw-up this was for the White House and everybody involved. It really is just an unfortunate situation, Brianna.
Yeah, a massive screw-up, maybe accidentally on purpose. How many times have you ever heard a White House reporter for a mainstream news agency use the term OMG? It was an OMG moment. Come on. Yeah, I'm sure it was an OMG moment and a WTF moment to boot. So then they come out with another clip right after saying analysts say that the Taliban will now try to assassinate the ousted CIA chief. Oh, really? That might be...
Ryan, you've just spoken...
That might be a good reason to keep the 9,800 troops there that we're planning on keeping there to train their staff, their military, just like we did in Iraq. And look at how well that turned out. Hold on.
With the reporter who put out the name of this station chief. How did this happen?
Well, look, he was a pool reporter on Air Force One. There's a small group of reporters that always travels with the president, as you know. And he basically asked for the names of the folks who were briefing the president at Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan. A White House press person went to the military and asked for that list. A military person sent it back to the White House and with a note saying this is for the pool. In other words, this is for public distribution. Gave it to the press. The press then wrote up, this reporter then wrote up a report with that and other information, sent it back to the White House.
As is customary. To be sent out so the White House saw it before.
And then the White House pushes the final send button. Now look, these are, frankly, the White House aides that do this are low-level people. And the question is, how did that name get on the military list that was sent to the White House, that was sent to the reporter?
What's the greater danger here?
Well, Brianna, I think they're going to have to pull him out now that he's been identified publicly. The Taliban probably didn't know his name before, but they will now. They will focus on attempting to assassinate him. And I think it's just a matter of fact that they're going to pull him out of Afghanistan. It will affect his career over the long term, too.
And what about those around him? Anyone who may have been affiliated with him, but without knowing his status, perhaps it didn't raise as much of a red flag for the Taliban.
Well, exactly. I mean, they're going to be able to look at him, his cover, and the people around him are going to look like they're CIA too, and they may have to take a whole unit out. It depends on the situation out there. But this is a serious breach of security, and the problem is White House staffers and some of the military don't understand the significance of cover and what it means for the CIA.
Oops, I was muted. So there you go. The Taliban are going to find him, and they're going to kill him if they can. Now, if you guys remember the Valerie Plame, is that her name? Plame story, where she was also exposed at one point as being a CIA operative by G.W. Bush in a political move against her husband. So I don't know. I haven't seen anything that actually has said who this individual is that they've exposed. Just he was the top CIA liaison in Afghanistan. But to me, this smells like rotten fish. So it'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye on that and just see how that plays out. The fact that Karzai kind of snubbed Obama during his quote-unquote surprise visit makes me also think that there is something more going on here than what meets the public eye. And isn't there always? Things are never like they seem. All right, I guess I want to get off of here. I want to hop over a little bit. Oh, wait, actually here, one more thing. Let's listen to Barry. I really hate doing this because it gives me heartburn, but this is his little clip announcing that we are keeping the troops. After we were never putting troops in there in the first place, we were pulling them out, and then we loaded them up, and now we're pulling out completely, but we're leaving 9,800 there. Let's listen to his clip.
Good afternoon, everybody. As you know, this weekend I traveled to Afghanistan to thank our men and women in uniform and our deployed civilians on behalf of a grateful nation for the extraordinary sacrifices they make on behalf of our security. I was also able to meet with our commanding general and ambassador to review the progress that we've made. And today I'd like to update the American people on the way forward in Afghanistan and how this year we will bring America's longest war to a responsible end. The United States did not seek this fight. We went into Afghanistan out of necessity after our nation was attacked by Al-Qaeda on September 11th, 2001.
Please!
We went to war against Al-Qaeda and its extremist allies with the strong support of the American people and their representatives in Congress, with the international community and our NATO allies, and with the Afghan people who welcomed the opportunity of a life free from the dark tyranny of extremism. We have now been in Afghanistan longer than many Americans expected. But make no mistake, thanks to the skill and sacrifice of our troops, diplomats, and intelligence professionals, we have struck significant blows against Al-Qaeda's leadership. We have eliminated Osama bin Laden, and we've prevented Afghanistan from being used to launch attacks against our homeland.
Now,
we've also
you know what? This is 10 minutes of bullshit that I'm not going to listen to so we went into Afghanistan because of 9/11, because they attacked us, because of Al-Qaeda. We got Osama bin Laden. Does anyone remember this?
We also have a history of kind of moving in and out of Pakistan. I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago. And we did it because we were locked in this struggle with the Soviet Union. They invaded Afghanistan, and we did not want to see them control Central Asia. And we went to work. And it was President Reagan in partnership with the Congress, led by Democrats, who said, you know what, sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's deal with the ISI and the Pakistani military, and let's go recruit these mujahideen, and let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam so that we can go beat the Soviet Union. And guess what? They retreated, they lost billions of dollars, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So there's a very strong argument, which wasn't a bad investment to end the Soviet Union, but let's be careful what we sow because we will harvest. So we then left Pakistan. We said, okay, fine. You deal with the stingers that we've left all over your country. You deal with the mines that are along the border. And by the way, we don't want to have anything to do with you. In fact, we're sanctioning you. So we stopped dealing with the Pakistani military and with ISI, and we now are making up for a lot of lost time.
Yeah, we are making up for a lot of lost time. Hold on, I'm going to back up because there was one more. There's an interview she did too. I mean, she outlines it. We did it. It sounds exactly like what they're doing now. It's unbelievable. And the ISI, I wonder if those are now the ISIS, the ISIS group that's in Syria. The ones that are the Al-Qaeda that Al-Qaeda wants nothing to do with. All right, hold on. They got this whole...
so if you think if we walked away from this, didn't give them money today, it would be worse for us from a security standpoint.
I do. We're building a relationship that just did not exist. I said in our last trip when you were with me that we had a huge trust deficit, in part because the United States had, to be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting.
How? Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan. And we were successful. The Soviets left Afghanistan, and then we said, great, goodbye, leaving these trained people who were fanatical in Afghanistan and Pakistan, leaving them well armed, creating a mess, frankly, that at the time we didn't really recognize. We were just so happy to see the Soviet Union fall, and we thought, okay, fine, we're okay now. Everything's going to be so much better. Now you look back, the people we're fighting today, we were supporting in the fight against the Soviets.
Yeah, and we supported them all the way to the bank for poppies. I really think that that's what this is all about. I mean, there was so much drug money that's been generated out of that. Now we have this heroin problem with all of our teens because it's so cheap to get here. And we developed this hatred for the United States by bombing the crap out of these militants that we created. So, now back to Brandon's episode talking about Brzezinski's grand chessboard. That's what this discusses then, is this whole fight for that region and the fight against Russia and China. And one of the things Brzezinski says is that we cannot allow the Russia-China conglomerate to get control of that region. And so this is full destabilization. Now, there were two stories that came out over the weekend. One's an article, one's a clip. The article is titled, U.S. Assembling Elite Forces Teams Across Africa to Counter Al-Qaeda. Now, of course we know. They say Al-Qaeda is spread all over Africa, and every other day you see news stories. Now, you remember just recently, too, we had this Boko Haram group that supposedly abducted all those girls in, I believe it was Nigeria. And I don't know, it was kind of fuzzy to me as to whether or not they asked us to come or if we suggested we come help them find these girls with our teams using drones. Now, the funny thing is, all these videos were coming out about the missing girls, right? And there were almost, in the beginning there were 200. I think in the end it was like 275. It was close to 300 girls that had gone missing and were abducted. But a story came out a few weeks ago out of an African paper that had said that they'd found the girls weeks ago. I was like, wow, that's odd. That's really odd. I haven't seen anything in the U.S. news about that. And as a matter of fact, our military is still talking about going in there. And not only that, but because of us going in there to search for these girls, we are going to create a new drone base. So we already have one up in the northwestern portion of Africa, and I'm not sure right now off the top of my head which country, but there's a big drone base up there. We've had our feet on the ground in South Africa for a while, so now we're going to Central. We've had this whole car situation going on, and now we have these missing girls, so good reason to open a new drone base and send our elite forces down there. Well, don't I see yesterday, and we'll get back there, there were a couple clips, that Nigeria came out and said they know where the girls are. Now, did they really find the girls seconds after our elite forces got there? Or was that story that I saw out of the African publication a few weeks ago true, and they always knew where the girls were? And it was just a damn good excuse for us to put another drone base in another section of Africa in the middle of our proxy war with China over the resources. Let's think about that. So anyway, I'm going to read a little bit of this RT story about us assembling our elite special forces teams across Africa now to counter Al-Qaeda. The United States Special Operations Forces are attempting to train and install small teams of elite counter-terror commandos in 4 African countries in a Pentagon program aimed at combating Al-Qaeda-affiliated factions, according to the New York Times. The Pentagon's efforts center around building special forces in, Guess what? There's all kinds of shit being stirred up here right now. Libya. Remember them? That's where it all started, people. Libya, well, I don't know, it kind of started in Iraq, but Libya was like where the whole gun running situation started with Stevens. Libya, Niger, a country I have never seen before, Mauritania, and Mali, where there is a growing American concern over groups such as Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. Yet the program has struggled to advance as the U.S. military faces challenges in the region. The U.S. Army's Green Beret and Delta Force have been involved in the trainings at times reported, and the U.S. Department of Defense has spent almost $70 million to assist in training a counterterrorism battalion in Niger, as well as a similar team in Mauritania. I've never seen that country name before. Mauritania, Mauritania. The initiative are in quote-unquote formative stages, a senior department official told the Times. The Pentagon has also $16 million to spend on training and equipping 2 companies of Libyan troops and associated support elements. Isn't it nice how much damn money we have to go blowing on all this shit? I just cannot get over when I see any of this. How much cash we are blowing on blowing people up. And I saw a story yesterday that now the Pentagon is asking for their own discretion in how the huge, fat, big coffer of dollars they're given every year is spent. So they don't have to line item for budgeting purposes. Now that's bullshit. Well, we're just gonna give you $10 bazillion and let you do whatever you want with it? I don't think so. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Alright, I'm gonna read a little bit more. This effort involved the attempt to train troops at a secret military base outside of Tripoli, though this aspect of the program ended in August last year when a militiaman seized, quote, hundreds of American supplied automatic weapons, night vision goggles, vehicles, and other equipment from the compound, according to the Times. So look at that. So we spent, $16 million to train the troops in Libya and have this little depot that then we gave pretty much by accidentally leaving it vulnerable automatic weapons, night vision goggles, vehicles, and other equipment to the Al-Qaeda that we are trying to fight. And does that not happen over and over and over again? Your tax dollars are arming the entire Middle Eastern insurgency. Now, why can't people get their arms around that? That has got to stop. I don't want to be giving guns to some 5-year-old in Pakistan. Nor do I want to be paying for drone bombs to then kill that 5-year-old in Pakistan. It says as a result, the training was halted and the American instructors were sent home. Oh, you think? Both the American and Libyan officials have searched for a more secure training site as the Department of Defense officials rethink how to select local personnel for trainings. Oh my God, this is just... my blood pressure is rising. Spearheading such initiatives in volatile, resource-limited countries like Libya, that we created a volatile, resource-limited situation. Libya was a pretty happy country before we went in there and destroyed it all. At least it seemed to many of us. And, we've heard all the stories about their people all having houses and good educations and everyone had a job. And the country was beautiful. Do you see pictures before we bombed the crap out of it? It was gorgeous. They took care of their people there. They used the oil dollars to make sure that they had a good base for their society to thrive upon. They took care of their people, unlike here. Unlike the old and the sick that we just toss to the roadside. Unlike all the American families that we dangle a carrot of a promise of an American dream only to be taken back when we go, whoops, you know what? We gave away that money too freely and you didn't qualify to begin with. And now that you're having difficulty, we're going to take your house and now you're homeless. And it just, this whole situation, this wealth being sucked out of our nation and being sent overseas for all these things that none of us agreed to. is really, really disgusting. And it gets even better, people, because now this whole Russia-China thing that we're going to talk about is all part of this. This is all talked about in the grand chessboard. This is exactly what was outlined in 1997. It's happening. The special forces training in Mali, for example, have stalled as the country attempts to rebound after a military coup rattled the established political order. The trainings in Africa follow a pattern of U.S. military counter-terror efforts across the continent, including Uganda and Western African forces. The American-led initiatives against Islamists and associated groups often attempt to encourage indigenous troops to eventually assume responsibility. The U.S. has established a network of surveillance aircraft in Africa. Yes, we have. I think we now have 3 big drone bases, or we're working on number 3, including a facility in Niger. Yes, Niger is in the Car region where the UN decided that France was allowed to go in and try to take control back, and they gave the United States the ability to be the transport to drop the French troops off. Wasn't that nice of us? Including the facility in Niger that assists French forces in combating militants in Mali. In addition, the U.S. has installed an unmanned drone site in Chad. Oh, that's the new country. Chad. That's the new base that we're building now, which supports in part efforts to locate the more than 200 young girls kidnapped by extremists in Nigeria. Yes, that was the Boko Haram. Wow. I just hate doing this stuff in the morning. It really, really gets me upset. So, okay, here is now a little clip on this. Elite U.S. troops helping Africans. Yes, we are helping those poor people just like we have in all those other countries combat terror.
Usable. The New York Times says elite U.S. troops are helping African nations fight terrorism. U.S. troops are training counter-terror units in 4 countries, Libya, Niger, Mauritania, and Mali. American officials say the countries are key battlegrounds in the fight against al-Qaeda. The program began last year. The Washington...
How nice is that? It began last year. So, is that what they're calling it? Is that what we're doing there? We're, quote unquote, helping the Africans combat terror. What, the terror groups we've been arming? Yes! The terror groups we've been arming, as admitted by Hillary Clinton. And she's gonna come back into power just in time to take the reins of all the stuff that she and her husband and all the other criminals had started. Now, I saw something last night as well. The U.S. now is sending assault ships with 1,000 Marines off the coast of Libya. And they are asking Americans to, quote unquote, depart immediately. In reaction to the heightened friction in Libya, the USS Bataan, stocked with several helicopters in addition to Marines, is to be adjacent to the nation's coastal area, quote, in a matter of days. Now, Libya, I don't know if we have ever actually gotten control of Libya. Looks like there is still a lot of fighting going on, and a lot of the fighting that was going on was the indigenous people fighting against the puppet government that we put into place. I'll read a little bit of this. The U.S. is sending 1,000 Marines in an amphibious assault ship to Libya's coast as a quote-unquote precautionary move should the U.S. Embassy require evacuation. Didn't that happen once before? Oh, wait, no. It required evacuation and we didn't send support or evacuate when they got attacked and Stevens was killed. Am I right about that? Wasn't that Libya? Somebody tell me in chat, was that not Libya? Because I think it was. I am pretty sure that was Libya. Alright, let me go back there. I gotta find the story again. Okay. Adding to tensions, gunmen attacked the Tripoli home of Libya's new Prime Minister, Ahmed Matik, on Tuesday. Businessman Matik, 42, and his family escaped harm, according to the American Free Press. An aide to Matik said, quote, there was an attack with rockets and small arms on the prime minister's house in Tripoli. Matik's guards opened fire on the attackers, wounding and arresting 2 of them in reaction to the heightened strife in Libya. The USS Bataan, stocked with several helicopters and Marines, is to be there in a matter of days, said an anonymous U.S. defense official. The preemptive move is in reaction to increasingly violent militia battles which could threaten the American embassy's scrutiny. Oh, sorry, security, not scrutiny. Based on escalating security concerns, the U.S. State Department recommended Tuesday Americans in Libya, quote, depart immediately, unquote. Due to security concerns, the Department of State has limited staffing at the embassy in Tripoli and is only able to offer very limited emergency services to U.S. citizens in Libya. The U.S. also has 250 available Marines, 7 Osprey combat aircraft, and 3 refueling aircraft in Sigonella, Italy. The State Department said last week that its embassy in Tripoli was operating as usual, despite offensives launched by a dissident general against the Libyan parliament and Islamic factions. Meanwhile, Mohammed Zahawi, the head of Libya's Ansar al-Shahiri militant group in Benghazi, yes, see, it was Libya, warned against any U.S. interference in the nation's ongoing tumult. Zahawi accused the U.S. government of backing General Haftar, a quote-unquote new Gaddafi, and, quote-unquote, an agent of American intelligence. Hey! Look at that! And what just kills me is that they make these militant groups out to always be the bad guy that we're gonna go drone bomb. But I hate to say it, all of these militants or bad rulers that we need to depose always end up coming out and speaking the truth. Did you notice that? So we gotta go bomb them. Let's get them out of office. Let's bomb the militants because they speak too much truth. Quote, we remind America, if they intervene, of their defeats in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Somalia, because they would face in Libya something much worse, he said in a statement on Tuesday. It was America who urged Haftar to turn the country toward war and bloodshed, unquote. Absolutely correct. The State Department has denied any role in Haftar's recent offensive, despite accusations that the U.S. is encouraging the senior military official. How many people from other countries, even look at like down in South America, Madero was saying that we're responsible for all the riots going on there with our fake Twitter, CIA Twitter accounts and all the other crap that we're pulling. And it sure as hell is. It's us. It is us in every single one of these countries. And then we play stupid. I don't know. Looks like you guys need help. NATO's gonna let us come in and bring our troops in and fix your humanitarian issue. I need to breathe. All right. So let's move on from there. So as all of this unrest is going on, we are now having the gun debate happening here again. And just after Sandy Hook, I saw some Sandy Hook stuff and parents are coming out. Oh, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. We have this Santa Barbara shooting and stabbing by this rich kid who apparently couldn't get laid, so he went out and killed people. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I knew kids growing up that were still virgins in college. And here's a couple things. I mean, I know I joked about my friend saying, you know, if he was a rich kid with a Beamer, why couldn't he just take $1,000 and go to Vegas? True. But I don't even think it's that difficult. I mean, alcohol, rich kid, university, go to a party, meet some drunk chick, and it's over. I just don't see where this kid seemed to have issues. Anyone who's been in college knows that it's not that hard. And if you're having difficulty, then you're really doing something wrong. I'm trying to find I did have his manifesto video here that I wanted to play. It was actually pretty chilling. The thing is, when you hear this, here it is, the Retribution video. Now, I watched this like fresh off the presses, seconds after it was released and it came out. And I literally had my mouth open. Because at first I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. Like he killed all these people, or was going to kill all these people because he couldn't get laid. But the second thing was, comes out in the details that his dad was assistant director to the Hunger Games. You guys remember all the flap about that movie, right? And like, the precognition of things to come. Well, Hollywood being involved, in half of the crap, trying to get out the propaganda videos. Well, I had to laugh and this is before I knew that his dad worked in Hollywood. As I'm watching this video, I drop Pigmine a note and I'm like, hey, this dude totally sounds like he's reading a script. Here's the thing, this is what the giveaway was. I have an English degree. So trust me, I know all about how to use a thesaurus. And there's a good way to use a thesaurus, and there's a bad way to use a thesaurus. The bad way to use a thesaurus is to just pick words that are uncharacteristic of you and put them into whatever you're writing. Because it'll stick out like a sore thumb. Especially a teacher or somebody that knows you. If you're using words that are completely atypical for your vernacular, they call bullshit on that, okay? This kid is some college kid, some rich college kid, who's sitting in his car talking about how he's gonna kill people because he didn't get laid. So some of the vocabulary that's used in here, to me, just seems completely off the hook, like out of place, like bam, bam, red button. Also, listen to his laughter. I don't think I have ever heard more of a fake laugh on the planet. So either this kid had been sitting in his room recording himself for like a month, doing this video, like getting ready to do it for real in his car with a script that he wrote and he rehearsed. Or, I don't know what. I mean, it bleeds of bullshit to me. So here, we are gonna play this. I want you people to hear it. Says authorities have identified Elliot Roger, 22, as the gunman in Friday night's mass shooting, which was a shooting and a stabbing, in Isla Vista near the University of California, Santa Barbara. And hey, guess who's the president of the California university system now? Manit Napolitano. Oh yes. This, I'm telling you. Plus we find out that the kid had been under the care of multiple psychiatrists. And the police had visited him 3 times because the parents had been calling for help, they said. But lo and behold, now the big question is, how did he legally get his hands on 3 guns? What do you think they're gonna use this to go after? Alright, so this YouTube video published on May 23rd is part of the criminal investigation, and this content may be disturbing for some viewers. I saw something the other day too. I'm imagining if it was there, it was probably taken down. But one of the guys that I subscribed to said that they went out to this kid's YouTube channel right after this happened and they could not find this video on there. I have not seen anyone else mention that, nor do I know where this kid's YouTube channel is, so that might be something to investigate. The very first comment under this video, by the way, goes along with exactly what I said. This guy says, what truly horrible acting. That's the first thing I thought. This kid is totally acting. And the fact that his dad is an assistant director for a large Hollywood publication would lead me to believe that yes, he probably is. So here we go. In a minute, they have this little, just the text that I just read you. Sitting. He's in a car.
Hi, Elliot Roger here.
Well, this is my last video. It all has to come to this. Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you. For the last 8 years of my life, ever since I've hit puberty, I've been forced to endure an existence of loneliness, rejection, and unfulfilled desires, all because girls have never been attracted to me. Girls gave their affection and sex and love to other men, but never to me. I'm 22 years old and still a virgin. I've never even kissed a girl. I've been through college for 2.5 years. More than that, actually. And I'm still a virgin. It has been very torturous. College is the time when everyone experiences those things such as sex and fun and pleasure. And in those years, I've had to rot in loneliness. It's not fair. You girls have never been attracted to me. I don't know why you girls aren't attracted to me, but I will punish you all for it. It's an injustice, a crime, because I don't know what you don't see in me. I'm the perfect guy. And yet you throw yourselves at all these obnoxious men instead of me, the supreme gentleman. I will punish all of you for it. On the day of retribution, I am going to enter the hottest sorority house of UCSB. And I will slaughter every single spoiled, stuck-up, blonde slut I see inside there. All those girls that I've desired so much, they would have all rejected me and looked down upon me as an inferior man if I ever made a sexual advance towards them, while they throw themselves at these obnoxious brutes. I'll take great pleasure in slaughtering all of you. You will finally see that I am, in truth, the superior one, the true alpha male.
The true alpha male.
Yes. After I've annihilated every single girl in the sorority house, I'll take to the streets of Isla Vista and slay every single person I see there.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Because, you know...
all those popular kids who live such lives of hedonistic pleasure while I've had to rot in loneliness for all these years.
I'm going to stop for 1 second because, so he makes this whole video, makes this big deal, right? He didn't even get that right. He didn't go to a sorority house. He stabbed his housemates, apparently, and then went and shot into like a mini mart or something. So where was, I don't see where any retribution came in. I don't know. This whole thing just stinks. Alright, I'm gonna play a little bit more.
They've all looked down upon me every time I tried to go out and join them. They've all treated me like a mouse. Well, now, I will be a god compared to you. You will all be animals. You are animals, and I will slaughter you like animals. I'll be a god, exacting my retribution on all those who deserve it. And you do deserve it, just for the crime of living a better life than me. All you popular kids, you've never accepted me, and now you'll all pay for it. And girls, all I've ever wanted was to love you and to be loved by you. I've wanted a girlfriend. I've wanted sex. I've wanted love, affection, adoration. You think I'm unworthy of it. That's a crime that can never be forgiven.
You know, he keeps doing this thing, too, where he, like, purses his lips and sucks in his cheeks like he's posing for the camera, and then he brings up his let's see, I'm looking at the video here. It's his right hand with kind of his fingers curled in and puts it under his chin like then he's posing, doing a photo shoot. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Now, the kid is dead now, which is sad, maybe. But I don't know. I mean, maybe tomorrow we can get some opinion on this, because I would like to get the opinion as to how this happened, why this happened. Obviously, he was probably on some kind of medication, especially if he was under the care of multiple psychiatrists. The father says he was concerned about his child and other videos that he had put out. But here's what I see. And we're not going to have time to listen to the rest of this, but I think I just dropped it in chat if you guys want to see the rest of it. Here's the thing. We heard Obama say back after Sandy Hook that they were going to get around those pesky HIPAA laws. Now, we found out the other day that apparently they've been allowed to get around those pesky HIPAA laws for a long time. But they really want to get around the pesky HIPAA laws. And they want to make the mental health professional the one that really can decide whether or not you are mentally stable enough to own a gun. And what? Oh, you've had depression before, you've been on SSRIs. You won't be allowed to have a gun. And as they're giving our children SSRIs for issues at 3, you better believe, and I think we were talking about this the other day, there won't need to be any type of amendment to the Constitution. They're going to disarm us in a generation. They're going to make us use smart guns. They're going to make us use guns that are safer. You wait and see. Smart guns just hit the market. Nobody wants them. But oh, we had another horrible shooting, and my God, this kid got his guns legally. And look at what a psycho he is. That's what they're saying now. So I am going to predict very shortly, and I saw already that one of the senators in California is ramping up his bill that already failed once for gun control. And here it comes. And guys, we are out of time, about 15 seconds left. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you, JJ, for coming on. Stick around. We got Vocal Local coming up. It is Wednesday. So today is a great day. Josh, Dana, Jimmy Funky, and Nick and DB tonight. And there we go, people. Everybody have a wonderful Wednesday. We will catch you tomorrow. Take care.